You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/the Options Insider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. The Options Insider Radio Network is sponsored by Fidelity Investments. Fidelity's Option Trade Builder tool can help you confidently build an options trade in 3 simple steps. Just choose a strategy, select a contract, and then review the benefits and risks of the trade. Learn more about Option Trade Builder at fidelity.com/options. Options trading entails significant risk and is not appropriate for all investors. Certain complex option strategies carry additional risk. Before trading options, contact Fidelity Investments by calling 800-544-5115 to receive a copy of the characteristics and risks of standardized options. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.
Join us now for the expert source for inside information on the options markets. It's time for Options Insider Radio with your host, Mark Longo.
All right, everybody. That music means it is time once again for Options Insider Radio, the interview program here on the old network where we welcome on guests from throughout the world of options and derivatives, and indeed sometimes beyond, and proceed to pick their brains for the benefit of you, the listener. My name is Mark Longo. I hope you guys have been enjoying the slew of content we've been sending at you lately. Had a bunch of conferences lately. The Swan event, the big options industry conference, and of course the trading show Chicago last week. So a series, a legion of interviews have been hitting the network of late. Hopefully you guys are enjoying that. I've been talking to a lot of people just for the benefit of you guys, so I'm glad to see that you guys are enjoying it. Don't worry. It is not done, not by a long shot. Next up on the network, he's a returning guest, even though he hasn't been on in a little while. He is Ian Rosen, the CEO of StockTwits. Ian, welcome back to the network.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Ian, it's been at least a year, maybe 2. I'll have to go back and dig into our records since the last time we caught up with you guys. A lot has happened since then. You guys have been up to a lot. So let's just dive right into it. Let's dive right into the big news right now that you guys have been making of late. You know, everyone knows StockTwits, you know, online social messaging platform for financial-oriented folks, shall we say. They know it as that. Now you guys are getting into the brokerage business. You're launching the TradeApp, where people can come through StockTwits and effectively trade commission-free. Tell us about this and what prompted you, Ian, to dive into the bloody, mad, crazy waters of the brokerage world, sir?
Well, yeah, that's a good way to describe it. But I think this is a logical step for our users. We've sat here for, I guess, a little bit over 10 years now as the largest social network for investing and trading. We have over 2 million members. We have significantly engaged members who spend almost an hour a day time on site. StockTwits people love to be on StockTwits, and they're on for 2 reasons. They're on because it's fun, and they're on to learn how to become better investors. And we've watched the actions that our community has taken over all of these years and how they learn about how to invest, whether it's stocks or options or ETFs or cryptos. And yet the next step that is taken by these users wasn't an experience that we really were a part of. We had connected with other people's brokerages. We've had various ways that you can execute that trade. But when you think about being true to that mission of helping people have fun and learn, we were not able to significantly help our community take those steps to actually execute the trade. So it's not so much that we want to dive into this like sort of bloody area of brokerage in the way other people's are. We just felt like as a responsibility to our users, we wanted to provide an experience that's more coincident with this learning and sharing and having fun that just simply didn't exist from the other players that are out there today. Nothing against them.
So it was more out of an onus, an obligation to your audience that you felt compelled to dive into these very challenging business, sir.
We have a very strong commitment to our community and their, I guess for lack of a better word, health. I think the reason StockTwits was started in 2008 after, obviously a significant amount of trust was eroded and the financial crisis, as a moderated platform, which was different than the traditional social channels like Twitter and Yahoo message boards back then. And it was a safe place for people to learn and engage with each other. That has been our history, to help people feel comfortable learning from each other, and that's why StockTwits has grown, so significantly and so organically over the years. So there's a very big piece missing in the way we engage with our community, and that's what do they do when they actually take their own real money and do something with it. We are then all of a sudden not a part of that process, and we felt like we could do a better job for them than the other options that are out there to help extend this, what we believe is a very healthy experience, into that other area.
So was it that you just felt maybe the community offerings were lacking on some of the big platforms? Or did you think maybe the big platforms were maybe taking advantage of their audience a bit, maybe upselling them on trading products that they didn't really know or fully understand? Was there something else? What is it that exactly you felt was missing of those big platforms that you guys could bring to the table?
So both of those things, and I don't want to sort of be too specific about other platforms because I think everyone tries to do their best. But I do think that the models have changed and the interests of the consumer are not necessarily always at heart. And if you look back to when the discount brokers disrupted the full service brokers and all of a sudden you could make trades for $10, I mean, that was a huge value to the consumer because they could learn how to do these things themselves, and it was cheap and easy. And if you had the ability to buy and sell as a company, you could build all of your engagement tools around that. So like charting or content or research or all the different things that help you make that decision. But as the world has changed, the ability to buy and sell has become just one of many pieces of the investing workflow, whether it's learning I want to get started and figuring out what to do and doing the research and figuring out how to actually make that trade. And I think that both the community aspects in terms of how do I make decisions as a young person, as people coming into the industry now? The answer, whether it's for stocks or options or financial products or toasters or refrigerators or movies or anything, is I do that through a combination of social. I look at what other people are doing that are like me, and I listen to my friends, and I listen to peers or people that seem like peers and are in the same situation. And I look at discovery, like tell me what the smartest people are doing. Tell me what other people are doing. That process is very much ingrained in how we make decisions, and the traditional infrastructure of financial services hasn't really gotten there yet. And that's what StockTwits is exceptionally good at. So yes, I think the community aspect, bringing that into the transaction process is a natural fit and is going to benefit our users. And then a little bit more lightly, because like I said, I don't want to throw any companies under the bus. I think that the interests of the consumer are not always represented in the business models of all the firms that are out there today. And we have the luxury of having a large community, a healthy business, and we have the opportunity to be that advocate and to be that good representer in the brokerage market for our consumers.
That's interesting. Let's talk about the business model then. First off, you're going the way that it seems to be the hot thing these days, a contentious thing, but a hot thing, which is, of course, no commissions, zero commissions. Why did you decide to go that route? It seems like that's kind of you almost, if you launch a brokerage firm these days, you kind of have to go that route, right? It seems like what all the cool kids are doing, Ian.
It is table. I think it will become table stakes, and I think the reason that's true is because other companies who we all know have done a good job of saying, I want to remove all friction to helping people get started. I mean, I just want to make it as easy as can be to get involved in investing. And when you remove all friction, you get a lot of people that are willing to give something a try. But the thing that we feel has been missing from the space in that model is, okay, it's the equivalent of handing someone a free mountain bike and putting them on top of a mountain and saying, hey, this is a free mountain bike and you're on a mountain, so good luck, And then we think that there's the missing piece, which we want to fill in, and we will be filling in, is yes, it's free. Yes, it's friction free and it's easy and it's something that you can extend into very, very naturally from your StockTwits experience. But we also want to have an engaging, not necessarily just community-based, but community-based and sharing-based and mentoring-based and gamified approach to how do I learn how to do these things. That's the piece that's missing. How do I engage people? How do I teach people? How do they learn from each other? Free is I think table stakes, but free is not, it's I think necessary, but certainly not sufficient. And even though it's been a nice step forward to get people involved, it's just not enough.
And I just want to clarify for our listeners who maybe are confused, because my first thought when I heard you guys were going down this path is that you were partnering with a certain BD, maybe someone was powering it behind the scenes and you guys were the front end. But that is not the case. You guys are creating a whole new subsidiary, ST Invest, and this is effectively your own StockTwits BD going forward. Is that correct? That's exactly right.
In fact, at our office in New York, we now have two plates on the outside of the building. StockTwits and ST Invest. It's a separate company owned by StockTwits. Separate because as we went through the regulatory process, we wanted to be very careful about making sure that we don't mix or muddy waters, and frankly, that is required from a regulatory perspective. But yes, it's an entirely new brokerage that we created. I think to sort of answer the implied question, it was a significant effort, a significant expense, and the question is, why would we do that? And the answer to that is when we looked around at partnering, and some of it goes back to my answer to the last question, we just simply didn't see companies that were going to be willing to go down the road that we are going to go down in terms of engaging with our community in the way we want. We didn't want to just bolt on another broker to the side of StockTwits and say, oh, now we have our own, good luck, because we have a couple thousand people every single day that show up on the platform for the first time. The most question they ask is, whether they're asking us or their user or their community or whatever, is what brokerage should I use? And we want to have an answer that we feel comfortable with and not necessarily be having frictions with another partner as to what the best way to do things are. They have their own business models, and we felt like we wanted to own and control that experience so that we could provide the best options to our, no pun intended, to our community.
Right. Talking options, you're getting me excited, Ian, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
As soon as I said the word, I knew I was
teasing me. We're getting to that. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I do salute you. That is a lot of extra effort. The easy path certainly could have been to, just partner up or have someone power it behind the scenes, and you guys kind of be the front end for it. And to go to all that effort,
board conversations.
Effort and expense and dealing with FINRA and everything else, which is not pleasant. I take my hat off to you on that front. You guys are serious on this. And we mentioned before the commissions or the lack thereof, I should say. And you mentioned earlier as well what you view as kind of some of the conflict of interest in the space. And that, of course, goes to the other side of payment in the space, which is payment for order flow. The firms that they're not getting paid by the customers, they're getting paid by the firms, the HFTs and others, the market makers, to route orders to them. It's a very controversial practice. I just had Thomas Petterfee from Interactive Brokers on the network a few weeks ago. He's a very outspoken critic against it. IB is one of the few firms out there that doesn't take that payment. Most of the other big ones do, the TDs and the Schwabs and even the Robinhoods, even though they came out early on making it, and even their name kind of implies that they're this egalitarian, stick it to the big model type of venue. They take more payment than most. So it's a big thing. And a little birdie whispered in my shoulder, Ian, and I'm wondering if you could confirm this for me, that you guys are not going to be taking payment. Is that the case?
So it is the case. But what I was going to say about that is I think there's an expression that was sort of popular in Web 2.0 or whatever, that if you're getting a service for free, that you're the product, right? You're what's being sold. And I think when you're talking about bringing people into a new experience, in this case, investing, people don't know what they don't know. And that's not to say that it wouldn't be a fair trade-off or worth it, or people wouldn't know, but there's free means different things if you look under the hood. And I actually do believe that reasonable people can disagree as to whether or not this is, okay or not. And that's not my intention to even wade into that. What I would say is that we have a clearing firm. I'm sure order flow will be sold, but we do not want to participate in that monetization on behalf of our community. And we will, there will be nothing that StockTwits will gain from that. We'll either be returning it to our users or otherwise not taking it. We just simply don't want to be in that conversation. I mean, there was. I think this is a substantial debate about whether or not an individual is being, I guess for lack of a better phrase, taken advantage of by sort of the shark financial services industry. And we have, like I said, a healthy business. We bank on our own reputation of putting our community first, and we just simply don't want to have a part in that.
I can certainly understand that. You're right. It is a very contentious practice, and reasonable people can and do disagree on it. There is a value to those orders. Maybe people think they should be getting compensated for it. The firms, on the other hand, you're right. It is pretty direct conflict of interest often. So it is very contentious. But that raises the obvious question that you're not getting paid on the front end by the clients in terms of commissions. You're not getting paid on the back end by the order routers and the flow. So how? Yeah, exactly. How are you going to make money on this? Is it a charitable endeavor from StockTwits?
So yeah, this is our intention to announce that we're philanthropic. No, I'm just kidding. No, of course, we want to make money, but we're making money in an upfront way. We believe that as a community, we have a significant amount of content and insights and analytics and tools and tools both in terms of making decisions and also in terms of investing. And I think down the road there'll be more financial products that are not free, but the table stakes of equity trading. And in our case, actually fractional equity trading, which we think is a very big differentiator, would be at no cost to the consumer. But we do have a subscription model where there are other things that you can pay up for if you find that they're valuable, but you don't have to.
Okay, so the base offering is going to be free, and that includes commissions, and I'm assuming maybe some basic level of research and charting and interaction, that sort of thing. And if you want added tiers, maybe better research, better charting, and maybe better market data, that sort of thing, those things will have added fees? Yeah,
there are a variety of features and products and tools that can and will go into that. I think, I don't know how familiar you are because we haven't spoken in a while, but we launched something back in October called Rooms. So Rooms is the ability for community members to set up their own non-ticker-based experience. They can basically set up a room where other people can join, and it could be about anything they want. It could be about esports or Brexit or market memes or whatever. So that was a way for StockTwits to move to topic-based conversation. And one of the things that happened as part of that was we created a premium rooms feature where people can create a room and charge people to be a part of that, which is something that people have built their businesses on StockTwits for years and years. One thing that might go into our subscription model is certain premium rooms that can be helpful to for example, new users to get up, started, and running, and part of your subscription is access to this premium content or something like that. I think we're lucky that because we have a sort of a larger, healthy business, and we have a lot of content, and we have a lot of experience, and we have a lot of good mentors and people in the community that are willing to either give or sell their expertise, that we feel like we are better positioned to craft offerings, subscription or otherwise, to a community that they will find valuable. That's how we want to make money. We want to make money by helping people be better. That's the number one thing. When we surveyed our community over and over again, if we could do one thing right for you, that answer is almost always by orders of magnitude higher than anything else. Make me a better investor.
Interesting. So I was going to ask about the rooms, but it sounds like you're not exactly folding those in. Those are a separate venture, obviously, but you're going to be adding similar functionality to the brokerage then.
Yeah, we'll give the opportunity for some room owners to be a part of a bundled subscription package, and ultimately, we just want to create like a simple product. Hopefully, it could, I guess, potentially be over time set of products, but product that allows people to sort of level up their experience. Like I'm going to come in. I'm going to join for free. I'm going to put some money in. I'm going to learn from people around me in the community. I'm going to take my first baby steps of buying $50 worth of an Amazon share or something like that. But now I need more, and obviously that more is not something that is comes for free for us either. So that is where we feel like we can benefit our community, but also the company.
I'm curious because we're in a similar space here in the options world where we're kind of agnostic of different brokerage and partners. We talk with all of them, we work with all of them in different capacities. Our reach kind of spans the full options space. We don't have one preferred provider or anything like that. So that's kind of how we've built our model. We're the Switzerland, pretty much, of the space, for lack of a better term. And you guys have filled a similar role in the financial space for a while. StockTwits has kind of been a very mostly broker agnostic platform. You don't really champion particular platforms. People can come in, they can do their research, they could share their ideas, and you're not espousing any particular provider. Now that you guys are entering the brokerage fray, that's going to change. You're going to want, I assume, to route people to the TradeApp as opposed to a TD or a Schwab or that sort of thing. So does that concern you at all, that maybe now that you're a competitor in many ways, that maybe muddying the waters of some of your existing relationships? The big brokers out there are some of the big players in terms of advertising and supporting events and providing content and things like that. Does that concern you at all, that maybe this will drive a little bit of a wedge between you and some of the big players out there in the financial space?
This is a question that has come up comes up all the time, and it's not one that is really a big concern for me, and I'll tell you for a few reasons. First of all, we never were pushing or routing anyone to any particular broker anyway. To your point, we were agnostic, and now we have an offering in the space, but which we think is very good. We think it's the best option, but there's nothing about StockTwits that would prevent you from, we don't anticipate that most people in our community are going to be using our brokers. Some of them will, hopefully a lot of them, but certainly there are a lot of other brokers out there, and people will use them, and it's still part of StockTwits. In terms of our relationships with the brokerages themselves, the example I gave to somebody recently was, if I go onto Amazon, there are a whole lot of products from if I'm going to buy batteries, for example, the Energizer batteries, and there are Duracell batteries, and then there's Amazon Basics, and I can choose to take Amazon Basics, and Amazon will sell those to me. And I'm sure Energizer and Duracell, maybe if they had a choice, they would not have those Amazon Basics, but ultimately the best product is the best product, and it might be the best product for a particular purpose or a particular user. And if I'm in the brokerage space, I think you may know that my background prior to StockTwits and founding my own company was at MarketWatch. So at MarketWatch, every single brokerage was advertising and sponsoring alongside of their competitors, and the reason they do that is because it's still a good channel, it's still a good place to reach the community they're trying to draw customers from. And I have no interest in, hurting or handicapping anyone's ability to get customers. If it's the right choice for them, they can. I hope they will stay with us for all of those things you mentioned, like advertising and sponsorship and things like that. But I guess we'll see. It's not something that would dramatically impact our business.
You're not reliant then on sponsorship revenue from brokerage firms to keep the lights on over there at StockTwits.
To be honest, if that had been the case, then we're almost more conflicted, right? Then we would have been all these years kind of a channel to funnel people into E-Trade or TDA, and that's not the case. Your earlier point about, or your earlier point reacting to my point that we're about our community. If we had those deep relationships that were so important that we can't live without them, then that would have been a deeper concern. We have many advertisers. We have lots of different ways that we, monetize our platform, and this is another one. And I think it's the Amazon Basics for a certain kind of user. But I'll be honest, if you are an experienced trader that has been on our platform for 10 years and has been, makes a living at this, then, I don't know if the TradeApp's going to be the best option for you right out of the gate. You're probably going to be at a E-Trade or a TDA, and that's appropriate.
Well, let's talk about the offering then. I know you're going to go live. I believe the plan is sometime this summer with equities, right? That's the launch plan?
That's right, equities and fractional equities.
And then I have to ask, because it's in the name. Any plans for options down the road?
Yeah, so of course. I mean, I would say about 15, maybe 18% of our traffic, just in terms of messages and things like that on the platform today, have to do with option strategies. Of course, we want to, and we will offer not out of the gate. I think one of the challenges, as you well know, especially for our demographic, which is younger and newer, is how do you socialize, and how do you get people to learn how to engage with options in a healthy, appropriate way. We have a lot of people that, in many cases, are for the first time learning how to buy a stock. Now, we have a lot of people that have been, trading for years and years and years, and those people will be clamoring at us for options and other products. But we want to sort of serve the first, and then when we get to options, I want to do it in a way that is, like I said in the beginning, is healthy and appropriate for the way our community wants to engage, which has a lot to do with learning and a lot to do with having an enjoyable experience.
You're right. There is a lot of heavy lifting that goes into the options experience. Those options traders are a pesky bunch. They're very demanding. They want all the bells and whistles. They want them right now. And if you don't have them, they will be upset with you. Take it from me.
That's right. We don't want to have a bad product. We want to have the right product. And I think it was actually at your conference last year, and I was on a panel, and the panel was, I think, if I remember correctly, titled something about like millennials and options, which is already like a tough, it's a tough title, because, okay, these are people that for the most part are in many cases just getting started investing at all. So millennials and options, what does that mean? And I think one of the comments that came out on the panel was, young people like options because they're cheap. That was what somebody said, right? And that's concerning, right? Because it's not just because you can buy something for $5. That has nothing to do with whether it's the right investment strategy for you. That's one of the reasons why we're launching with fractional equity, so you can buy $5 worth of a stock instead of having to be like, I'm going to get involved with a product that I don't necessarily yet understand. It's for those reasons that we want to make sure that we create the right learning experience and social experience around options before we come out of the gate.
And the other hot thing you have to offer these days, if you want to be on the bleeding edge, you want to attract all those young millennials in terms of what they want to see on the platform. They want crypto, right? So, you guys, any plans for that in the future too?
Not out of the gate, but certainly it is something that we're thinking a lot about. I mean, but I think, again, the reason people like crypto, the reason our audience likes crypto is, first of all, you can buy in dollar denominations, right? And you can buy $10 worth and $50 worth, which, we think is solved in a better way by fractional, although that's not to say that equities and cryptos are interchangeable, because certainly they're not. But that's one. It's not. It's trades 24/7, and it's not handed down by the institutional mountaintop. So for those reasons, crypto, and it's new. It's something that anyone can like. There are new ways of understanding crypto trading and analytics and development coming out every day. So it's easier to sort of learn and become an expert, and to learn as everyone else is learning. For that reason, cryptos are something that is going to make sense for us. But again, it's not an out of the gate thing.
So just to recap then, sometime this summer, we expect TradeApp to go live with commission-free, cash equities and the micro offering. That's the plan?
That's right.
Well, there you go, listeners.
By micro, you mean fractional?
Yeah, fractional. That's what I mean. I've got micro on the brain, all the micro products launching recently. So, yes, fractional.
I just want to make sure I'm not launching a product.
Yes, I put you in the now you're competing with CME. Enjoy that. But I want to talk about the broker. We could talk about that all day, but you guys have been doing some other interesting things on the platform. You touched on the rooms earlier and the premium rooms. I'm kind of curious. It's a relatively new initiative. It sounds like it's being folded into the brokerage as well. But on its own, on its surface, how is that initiative going? Are people using them? And particularly the premium side, are people lining up to pay for the premium rooms over there on StockTwits?
Yeah, so one of my regrets actually is naming them the same, because they're really totally different products, right? So if your listeners are familiar with Reddit, Reddit has a lot of topics, and then anyone can set up a subreddit, and you become the moderator of that subreddit. Our rooms is very much like a subreddit. And on day one, literally day one, we had thousands of people setting up rooms. I mean, just like jumping on this name or that name and creating their own experience around whether it's fintech or esports or marijuana or day trading or whatever it was. And as you might, I think we have like 7,000 or 8,000 rooms at this point. But as you would imagine, there's like sort of a long tail of things that people set up and never go back to it. And there's some in the beginning that become sort of highly engaged and become big places for people to interact with each other around something that hasn't been possible before, because StockTwits historically has been so ticker focused that you can't really talk about investing topics that weren't around a ticker, which is very difficult. So that the biggest thing that happened with Brokerage was allowing people to be able to set up their own little worlds and around whatever interests them, and let the community sort out what's good and bad on their own, without any involvement from us, which you can imagine was a little bit hair-raising in the beginning. So that was how rooms evolved, and it allows us to create, content, or not to create, but to curate content from those rooms. So the answer is yes. A lot of people are using them. It was a natural evolution for us. There are two choices when you have a large social network in terms of organizing content as it starts to grow. One is like what Facebook or Twitter does, which is to algorithmically choose what somebody sees. And I'm going to edit that or curate that. And I think we know the problems with that just from what's been going on with Facebook and Twitter. And you don't necessarily want to be the arbiter of that. It's an editorial decision. We don't feel like that's ours to make. The other way is more like what Reddit does, which is to say we're going to put the organizational tools in the hands of the community, and you guys self-organize. And that's what we are doing. So that's working very, very well, to answer your question in a lot of words. The second part, which is the premium rooms, and like I said, they're not quite the same. I mean, they're the same in structure in that a room is basically a space on StockTwits where, you control who comes into it, you control the rules around it, you have a moderator or multiple moderators. But in this case, we've had this push-pull relationship with a lot of brands for many years where people want to charge for their expertise, or they want to charge for their product, and they want to effectively advertise on StockTwits and build their business, but we are not that kind of platform. We don't want people to just come on and spam the streams and say, buy my newsletter, so we would kick those people off or reprimand them and say, you have to either advertise with us or stop doing that. Premium rooms is, and this is the analogy I've been using, a little bit more like a WordPress. If you remember when WordPress came out, I'm not a publisher. I'm not going to set up my own website. I'm not going to figure out SEO. I'm not going to figure out how to put ads on it. But if you give me all the tools to do that, then yeah, I'm going to start publishing and talking. And if people want to pay me for that, then that's fantastic. And then there are the brands like Zacks and Investors Business Daily and CoinDesk and others that have set up premium rooms on StockTwits that have their own brands and just want to have a space and build new products. And those are like kind of a third area for rooms. And they're all sort of a little bit different, but yeah, it's all working, but they're very different. They're very different products. Does that make sense? I don't know if I need to clarify.
Oh yes, that does. And we've been watching it from afar. We haven't leapt into the rooms fray yet, but we've been keeping an eye on it kind of from a distance.
I was just going to say, my hope and what we were starting to see is that just members of the community who consider themselves experts and have a lot of people listen to them just decide to set up a room and share that expertise. And there are people who are making significant revenue who are they're just people that have been on StockTwits forever that decided to have a premium room and to share or hold back some of their expertise or share some of their expertise for a price, and people are joining. And we think that's a great use of the community. These are people learning from each other, and you should be compensated if you have an expertise and you want to put that work in.
And that's one of those ancillary revenue streams you were talking about earlier. You guys obviously take a piece, 20-30% of the room revenue. Is that how it works?
That's how it works, yeah.
Well, you also made some other interesting changes to the platform recently. We noticed it because we use StockTwits, easy for me to say, all the time here to share a lot of our tweets throughout the day, is that you substantially raised the character limit. It was, I think, 250, the old, or even less. I think it was the old Twitter limit of 140. And then you've shot it up to 1,000, I believe now. What was behind that change?
Okay. So, yeah, so we've been thinking about this for a while, even before Twitter went to 240. And, there was always this idea that, even with Twitter, that, look, the character limit kind of forces you to be succinct and to put your idea into a little package, and that's kind of what the product is. And we stuck with that for a while. Once Twitter actually went to 240, we had some sort of logistical issues because sometimes people will cross-post and things would get cut off and things like that.
We have encountered that ourselves, yes. We use it to cross-post quite a bit, and it was a point of contention for our team. So they're all thanking you right now remotely that you increased your...
I'm glad. In fact, that was probably one of the top questions I would get asked. When are you going to go to 240? When are you going to go to 240? And the reason that we weren't doing that was because we wanted to really dig deep into how do people actually want to use StockTwits as opposed to Twitter. I mean, they're different platforms with different everything, right? Totally different ontology. And we know that there are some concepts and ideas that just take a little bit more space to elucidate, and we don't want to make people break things up into 4 messages. And that's how we decided on 1,000. I mean, it was based on the way people are using StockTwits. And so far, there's a slow, people are just kind of starting to realize that they can go further and further and further. So there's a sort of like curve of people using more and more and more characters. But I think the ideas that you see on StockTwits are hopefully a little bit more fleshed out, and it doesn't just have to be, boom, that was awesome, and a GIF. It can be something that's a little bit more robust. And to be honest, we will also get to a point where we have more traditional long-form content that people can create. We want to curate. One of my dreams at MarketWatch had been, why can't we take more from the market participants? Yes, journalists are great. Yes, journalists are knowledgeable. But market participants have a stake in the game, and I want to hear from them. And it was very difficult in an editorial sense to do that. StockTwits is custom, perfectly built to be able to do that. So we will.
Yeah, I'll pass along the thanks to my team again, because they're very excited for this. It makes their lives. They were breaking up messages, and because we use it to cross post everywhere, and that's one of the best use cases for us of StockTwits. We do a post once, it goes 3 places, right?
Now Twitter is going to have to go to 1,000. I mean,
there you go. See, you guys are driving the change a little bit at a time over there at StockTwits. Well, like I mentioned, Ian, it's been a little while since we had a chance to catch up with you here on the network. I'm kind of curious. These have been pretty tumultuous couple of years in the marketplace. We had 2017 where, volatility seemed like it was going to zero. It was not a lot going on in terms of the broad space. The market was drifting upward, but from an interest and volatility perspective, it was a challenging time. Then, of course, we saw last year volatility rushing back in February, and all the other tumultuous things that happened, the big sell-off in October, and of course now the lingering trade war this year. What have the last few years been like for you, kind of trying to grow an investor-oriented content and social media platform? Were they particularly challenging? Was 2017 maybe a down year for you guys? Were people not looking at the market as much? And was it conversely in 2018? Did it rally? What was it like over the last couple of years trying to grow this platform?
Yeah, so we've never had anything close to a down year. We grow pretty consistently, 30 to 60% a year, totally organically. But to answer your question properly, look, it's been exciting, as you mentioned. There's been a lot of change. Our community are ultimately there to talk about what's going on. They're sitting in a virtual room together and saying, "Oh my God, this is crazy! Can you believe what Elon Musk just said?" Or "Look what happened with Trump and the trade war," or whatever. And you're right. When volatility is low, I mean, there's less to talk about in a broad sense, but each company has its own story, and markets have their own stories, and there are always interesting arcs that are happening that people want to be involved with, whether it's a smaller cap stock or a Tesla. So we haven't. The answer is it does affect the platform very significantly. Like when there is a huge downturn, like Q4 of last year, where all of a sudden for like what feels like a sustained period of time, everybody who's long is losing money. Yeah, you do start to see people sort of be a little bit more down about it, and nobody wants to jump on and chat about how much they're losing for more than a couple of weeks. But they do. They come back and they commiserate with each other, and then they when things start to turn around, you see the first sort of green shoots of light. I mean, these are people that are our community are people that think the markets and stocks and companies are fun. They think those stories are fun, and they're there because it's interesting. They're not. They are in some cases professional traders, but that's not why they're there. They're not there to grind it out and figure out how to squeeze an extra couple of basis points out of a trade. They're there because they believe markets are interesting. So to the extent that there's always a story, then there's always something to talk about. You don't get off Twitter when there's no news. That's
true. That's a good analogy. Well, I know you guys like to do your big events every year, your Stocktoberfest. I went to them a couple of years ago out there in Coronado. I know you're planning now for this year's event. What can we expect from almost at Oktoberfest, Stocktoberfest 2019?
It's like Oktoberfest in the sense that there's like alcohol, but it's more stock, more finance focused.
I can confirm there are a few beverages at Stocktoberfest. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I hope you'll come out this year. So Coronado is a fantastic venue to talk about pretty much anything. We have generally prided ourselves on trying to find the leading edge topics that people want to think about. Like we were very early into both crypto and cannabis, and we have people in the community or outside in our ecosystem that can talk about that. So we look for the interesting trends, either in terms of investing, in terms of fintech, in terms of just the way markets are changing. And this year, for the first time, we actually are inviting our community. You might have even seen it on the platform because we were blogging about it and posting. We're inviting people from the community. Listen, if you submit your best investing and trade ideas, and if you want to come present at StockToberfest, we're going to judge a couple people and pick them out of the crowd and fly you out there, and you can talk to some of the best investors in the world, and also our live stream, and we think that'll be fun.
And when is that again?
That is September 26th of this year, I believe.
There you go. Check it out, listeners.
It's not even in October.
Yes.
Well, we also did StockToberfest in March one time.
That's not confusing at all. So, listeners, if you want to check it out, maybe submit your idea, head on over to StockTwits and submit it. Get in there, get out there, and get speaking and sharing your ideas out there with the world. Well, Ian, this has been a fascinating journey through all the things going on. And there's quite a few things going on in the world of StockTwits. Of course, we touched on the forthcoming broker. It should be going live, the TradeApp, sometime this summer, hopefully with equities and fractional equities, not micros, fractional equities. And then hopefully sometime in the near future with cryptos and options and all that other good stuff. Talked about expanding the character limit, the premium rooms and the other features there, and even StockToberfest. But that said, Ian, if maybe we left something out, you think, hey, I should have brought that up. Or maybe you want to leave our audience with even more hints and teases what they can expect from you guys. Now is the time, sir. The floor is yours.
I just encourage everyone to sign up for the TradeApp and get on the wait list. And when we have it out there, I promise it's going to be an excellent experience for everybody. It's going to be fun.
There you go. Head on over to StockTwits. You can see the banners everywhere. It's kind of hard to miss. Right at the top of the page there, TradeApp. Click the button, sign up for it, and you too can experience it when it goes live. Well, Ian, it was great getting you back on here to catch up on all the latest things going on in the world of StockTwits, and we'll definitely have an eye on TradeApp when it launches here in a few months, sir.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate the chance to talk to your listeners.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.